What's that? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the leveled up, hand polished, organic, fat free, genetically enhanced Serbian corner on the DNVR Nuggets podcast channel, as well on DNVR Sports YouTube, where you can comment live. And Voja will probably see your comments since I'm producing while trying to get my thoughts in order on a foreign language. So, Serbian corner with completely new segments about the Denver Nuggets that will show you how a Serbian that has never been to Colorado, and that would be me, views the rectangle state on the Rocky Mountains. You can also expect some Nuggets and general NBA trivia games and much, much more. My name is Miroslav, calling from Pančevo, Serbia, and I'm joined, as always, by Voja, calling from Lincoln, Nebraska. Voja, is Nebraska football in a better shape than Colorado's these days?
Oh, it's I think it is because Colorado's is like very low, but it's not good. It's not good at all. It's not. I mean, it's a nice. At least the weather's better, but I almost fell asleep because it's so hot now, and there's no. They switched over to heating, so I'm like, I'll need this show now to like keep me awake for the next hour. It's gonna be exciting. At least like Nuggets gave us these last two games to be excited about after the first dud.
This Sunday is a football game, Voya explained to me, because I have no idea. I had to Google if Broncos are actually playing today, and unfortunately they are. But before that, let's give you something to be cheerful about and excited about, and start your Sunday on a right note. So let's start with our first segment, our favorite segment, Mile High Positivity. It is a segment about what we were the most high or optimistic about last week. And again, we are not legally allowed to get high in either Serbia nor Nebraska. So this is just a figure of speech. Again, it is so funny how a Serbian Corner episode evolves over the week. I have this template I use for the episode preparation. And after that Utah game, I've put here under the positivity, please God, give us something from the next two games to hang on to. And of course, our Lord and Savior Nikola Jokic heard me and delivered. First, a bare bones triple-double versus the Warriors, secured by a touchdown pass in the last seconds of the game. And then a very whole milk kind of a triple-double against the OKC. As our guys already informed you last night, Nikola, with 78 career triple-doubles, is now tied at number 6 all-time with Wilt Chamberlain, and is now eyeing LeBron and Jason Kidd, who have about 30 triple-doubles more than Nikola. And here's a bold take. Unless Braun goes on a crazy spree and start piling up triple-doubles at his age 49 season, I predict Nikola overtaking number 4 spot on this list by the end of this season. So that means almost a triple-double every other night, but why not? Nikola has reached this milestone. Yeah, his milestone in his 530th game, regular season match, while a guy with the least games played that is in front of him on this list is Magic Johnson with 906 games. So why the hell not? I mean, realistically speaking, Oscar Robertson and
Russell
Westbrook are probably unreachable, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, we forget. Like, I mean, 4 seasons in a row, Russell Westbrook just like basically every what you said every other night. But Wilt is funny because we assumed there's been a lot more with him because of blocks. That this is is it like retroactively 78, or is it since they started counting? Like, that's what's kind of interesting with him. Like, unfortunately, we don't have the early stats of
back then blocks nor steals were recorded, and there is almost no footage of games.
That's because that would be fascinating to see how many quadruple doubles he and Bill Russell had at some point. But either way, I mean, it is what it is now. The records are records. 78. This is awesome. I mean, 6th all time for center. I mean, honestly, the next game, Portland, we'll see if. I mean, he plays well against him, but I really wonder. I'm wearing a Showtime shirt again like last week, and I might keep wearing it until MPJ disappoints me, which might be like the whole season. I might be just every week in the same Showtime shirt just for him. I said on Twitter that he's one of my favorite players right now, and I'll talk about him later. But just with talking about triple doubles with Jokic, at some point they can't double him anymore. And they didn't do it. I mean, they did it a lot more last year because he was surrounded by bare bones roster with we talked about it like to death. Like the guys in second unit were playing the first unit, blah blah. But now this is insane. I mean, it's like MPJ is on the other side, and KCP if he keeps going, which I think he can, because again he's so open. It's not like he's forcing any shots. But MPJ, he got the guys talked about it yesterday in the post game. So many shots he missed were like that's surprising. Like he almost would. This was his bad shooting night, 5 of 10 basically, based on the quality of shots he was getting. And I wonder at some point if they're going to stop doubling him and not even try and be like, sure, go 1-on-1, beat us, score 40, because that's the best solution we can have, and not let anyone else go off, because otherwise you'll have a game like last night, which is 19, 16, 13, and you have other 20-point scorers, like, and it's just beautiful to watch. But it'll be interesting to see like if he can actually do every other night, like, because again, it's just pick your poison at this point. It's fascinating to see how the teams will adjust differently to him. What do you think about the? I mean, you said you gave a hot take. You said 30 more this season. Like, do you see it really happening like that, or like easily, or like hard?
Yeah, the reason I said I see it now is because when you look at the game against the OKC, I think they did a pretty good job by doubling Jokic in a pretty smart ways. Some of the passes he needed to make were like quintessential, insane passes that were actually needed for him to be able to get to the open shooter. And one thing I wanted to speak about, and I wanted to speak about it later, but it doesn't matter. One thing I really like about not only the starting unit, but also some other guys joining the starting unit. And I said before the season, Nuggets have 7 starters. You should count Bones and also Bruce Brown as starters as well, and you can.
But then it's 8 because I also was one. I mean, we saw how Jeff Green was playing well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's nice. I would honestly, I would actually like. I mean, I thought you when we talked about before the show when you said 7, I thought you meant Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, because I would still put Bones as he's still a bench player, even like in best and like in negative and positive, like as a spark plug, like he's incredible. But then I think like he still lacks a little bit of this the starter discipline in closing moments. He's like a wild card still that we talked about previous few weeks, that he'll hone in that part of his with experience. It's just that it's a second year. Like it's not uncommon that kind of lucidity and like interesting drive that he has is like really right now perfect for this type of team for the bench, because we know Nuggets needed some personality at some points during the game, and when he does that, we saw him at Golden State, that one move he made, and it's like a swing, a sling pass, left-handed no look to Michael Porter after basically we call it right. We call that in soccer when a player you can't get a ball away from him, that he put one of the shoelaces in the valve, and so like the ball is stuck to his feet. This was literally like he had stuck on the basketball and just was gliding through multiple players, and it's like, how is he not losing this ball? This is incredible. So I would have him as like the best bench player for this team, and then you have Bruce Brown and Jeff Green as your stable Jokic type starters that when they come in you don't notice. Like, I mean, I'm not going to like you. What did you mean? What were you telling me before the show? Like when you watched Bruce Brown and Christian Brown in the game, and you're like, oh, he's playing with this. Like, what was your take there? Like, that was incredible.
Exactly. So it was like 10 minutes 10 minutes mark at the fourth quarter against the OKC, and I see Christian Brown playing great basketball with starters. And then I, cleared my eyes and I saw it wasn't the starters. It was Jokic and Porter, but then there was also Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. So those are 3 bench pieces. But man, they were fitting like a glove. It was just amazing to watch. One thing I wanted to say: we are seeing a lot of Jokic assists, but we are also seeing a lot of Jokic's hockey assists. I love the fact that the guys are willing to convert a really good shot into an excellent shot by making one extra pass, and almost all of the guys are willing to do that, which is just amazing to see. So you can see how bought into the system so many guys there are. I mean, you cannot you cannot get DeAndre Jordan in the system because he will not, share the court with Jokic at any point of this season. Hopefully not. But but other than that, man, I don't see a lot of guys on this roster that are not willing players of Jokic ball, which is pretty amazing. And this is the main reason why I'm so optimistic about Jokic making that kind of huge jump in number of triple doubles. I might be wrong, of course, but one thing that's also convincing me of this is they don't appear to be able to blast teams out during the game. I mean, we are so hyped right now, and their plus minus over these 3 games is like -10 because they got blown out by Utah, and they have 2 pretty skinny wins against Golden State and OKC. But there are, of course, some reasons for those wins not to be more.
Well, I'll give you. I mean, I'll give a reason from my perspective. I think you probably share it the same way. And and if anyone is feeling really optimistic and are in the same like conundrum, like why we barely won 2 games, it's because we're seeing in front of our eyes we got smacked by Utah, and that was like we call it for Nuggets Serbia show. We called it the cold shower, and it kind of woke up the team, and it looked like it that they were awakened. And even yesterday, I was expecting maybe a similar approach from Wednesday because it's OKC second out of a back-to-back, but it really wasn't. And we're seeing this team, which we haven't seen before, which we haven't had a chance to see before, of these new guys coming in with prime Jokic, basically like figuring things out on the like as the time goes on. And because again, like previous years when they were good, they kind of all grew up together, and you see collective improvements over the seasons, and you're just like, okay, there's things to improve. Then all 5 of them, or whatever, 7 of them, their core in those years, they would improve together, and then all of a sudden it puts together, and you're like, okay, this is great. But now we see like, okay, Jokic is great, Murray's still rough, but then you have moments like the third quarter is like, oh, is this a Murray flurry? And then beginning the game, like, okay, there's a mix of these triple double sets to start off the offense. But then when you said hockey assists, KCP gets the shot, gets 13 points, like prime Gary or Will Barton when they would do in those games with those like 4 guys around him. They were just like basically the ones finishing the plays from the 3-point line. And then then there's some sloppy stuff like with Jamal, like he's a little tired, like he's he may be out of focus a little bit. There's some lost balls, but then again, okay, we're figuring out like, okay, Bruce Brown comes in now, it's all defensive and like he's slashing. So there's like these pieces that we can kind of see just like a puzzle forming, but not all together like at once. Just like, okay, we have figured this part of it. We have the sky of this like landscape. Okay, now we see the mountains a little bit here. Then there's a river there we're going to see. And then eventually I think the whole thing is going to come together. And that's why I think everyone's optimistic, because we see these flashes of like, oh, wow, this is so rough still, but we can see this beautiful picture forming, and it's not even done yet. And I think that for me, at least, that's where the optimism comes from. Like, it's really, really fun. Now, we haven't had that opportunity to see this because the team was so constant and used to each other that we just saw the whole thing. Maybe it was like not a prettiest picture, but it was still complete. And now we kind of, changed it up. So what do you think about that analogy?
Yeah, I like it, and on top of that, we have to give props to Michael Malone, who was staggering hard, especially versus OKC, but also against Golden State as well. I mean, if we did the show like 5 days ago, that would be a completely different show. But right now, we have to feel confident about him being willing to stagger his guys. I think there were like 3 or 4 minutes of all bench lineup in this last game. Other than that, we've seen so many variations of Jamal with the bench, Michael Porter with the bench, both of those guys with the bench. Of course, Nikola with the bench. We've seen that before as well in the first quarter, especially. So all of these things are helping team to optimize their chances of winning games. And also, one other thing, I think the most important job for Michael Malone in the months that are coming is to integrate Jamal Murray as he's getting his legs under him and not losing games because of it. Because right now, this team without Jamal I'm confident is capable of 55 to 60 wins. Really, even without Jamal, it's just amazing, and we need him. We know we need him for the playoffs, and regular season is one thing. Playoffs are the other one. Right now, I think Denver has a pretty good recipe for the regular season, which is important, not to get like Golden State in round one and get destroyed by them. Although you never know, you might still face them.
Just you want to avoid him. Yeah, you want to avoid him anyway. Like any one of these bigger, big deep teams that know how to play against Denver, you want to avoid him just for because the first rounds you're always figuring stuff out. You're not still completely playoff ready, and eventually that's why seeding is important. I was going to come back to this comment. It's a great comment. Seeing the free throws, Murray's free throws late, that he hasn't hit clutch points like in 500 plus days. That's a great point, and especially since he says he's tired and he's out of conditioning. Getting back to it, not out of conditioning, but like getting back to it, and this like winded moments, like that's when the free throws would suffer. When you're not in shape and you miss, and he made those. That was pretty big. Like that's. It's going to be interesting again how they fit. Like it's still, again, I'm saying it's still not complete, and with Murray playing, even without him, like we kind of see even in the closing moments yesterday when he had the ball, it's still a little bit of a difference no matter how rough he is compared to like Bones. They were used to, he's used to these moments where he knows how to wiggle out of the double team and get the ball rolling like forward. So that's why that's why it's important. Like in the closing minutes of a Golden State game that probably wouldn't even be close if he was full strength. In that how the game was flowing anyway. Like not saying like we're going to blow out Golden State every time. Just like that particular game, if he was there in his full strength at the end of the game, that's a 2-man game that Bruce Brown valiantly played. Considering he just second game regular season game with Jokic. But with Murray, like that probably would we've seen it yesterday. Like again, so Murray's so like rough around the edges. Him and Jokic start playing like it's just poetry. Like they know each other still. Timings like that. That's kind of. I mean, again, that's what we lost with Monta and Barton as well. We just didn't understand how much they actually knew each other until again you see little. Even Golden State game, Utah game, especially like they gonna get into these sets and there's still communication issues that result in not as efficient basketball. Bruce Brown had a turnover because he didn't know at that particular moment how Jokic reads the defense, and he Jokic popped, and Bruce thought it was going to roll into like a mid range, and it was just a plain turnover like in a big moment. And those are the things that will be ironed out with Jamal. And you said with the bench, like the with the Malone thing for me, I didn't watch Utah live. I was out and I was gonna catch a replay. It wasn't like, again, like not knowing the full score. If I was watching him, like wasn't like it was horrendous to to a degree because we expect Denver like to be much better. But to another, like watching the game, I was like, well, this is just they approached it as a preseason. There are not these like unreparable mistakes that were made, that just a horrible play, like it's broken. It was just like, okay, we're kind of took it for granted. We saw Utah do the same thing to Minnesota. Minnesota even had a game to see them like they actually shoot 53s a game.
We'll try to put a new light on that game in the second segment. But before that, I just wanted to say one more thing about Michael Malone.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was really brave in this OKC game when I thought he would close with Bruce Brown, to be honest, at like a 7-minute mark.
Yeah.
There was still Bruce and I believe Jeff Green on the court, and then he put Murray back, and I was like, "Oh, this is brave. This is brave. Hopefully, everything will go well."
Yeah.
And it did, and it's really important. It's really important, as you mentioned. Jamal got those clutch free throws because of that, and that's a really important step in his.
There's no way but through. Like they can't baby him and be like, okay, this is a close game. We're not going to let you be in the game. Like they kind of push through. Like it's going to cost them some wins, but they have to eventually push through. The bigger goal is in April. It's not in November. So I think that was a good move by Malone.
Okay, this is a good moment to make a little break, and after the break, we'll talk some MPJ. Welcome back to the Serbian Corner, your Sunday football day edition. Voja, before the game, and especially on Twitter, you said how much you like Michael Porter's game right now. Can you elaborate a bit, please?
Yeah, so this is funny. We all like shut up for a few seconds. It's like how the sausage is made. We had to make a break for the audio ads. So first, why I said he's one of my favorite players right now is watching a replay. I watched OKC yesterday and I turned it on again for the first half just to see when he was missing the shots that he did later. He was just making like crazy. He's first of all, like, there's no questions anymore of like, oh, can he fit in the system? Like, will he play around? There's the game, the Denver plays, and then it's just MPJ on the side, kind of like hovering. He's completely in it. Like, it's awesome. And maybe it's, the addition of, again, KCP, that is also a similar type of running gun. There's no that many ball handlers. Gordon has his role that he already honed in for the last like year and a half. He's just in there and he's fighting. Like, there's so many times he went in for offensive rebound, like tipped the ball. Even if he didn't get it, like if he didn't grab it, he would at least make OKC, because he was fighting for that ball. He didn't let OKC run, and that rebound would have been probably to quick to SGA and then like a secondary transition type, because he was there and like they were battling for it. Some time expired, like then they have to like, okay, everyone else from the Nuggets can set up their defense. Of course, shooting is just incredible. Like, we can just repeat this every time. Like, it's pure shooting. And again, he didn't even have like some of the open shots he was making off Jokic doubles or missing at the beginning. He made later, but 5 out of 10, and again, it looked like he had a off night. Like, it's some instances, or just an average night, I should say, not an off night. Average. This is like, okay, he can be 5 out of 10 every game, and wouldn't be a problem at all. Like, even if out of those 10 threes, like 2 of them were his, like one of the step backs that he likes to take, more often than not, he's going to make those 2. Like, it's just incredible. Then, fighting for rebounds, like he's there. We talked about some of the defensive stuff before in the preseason. He showed it even more. Like against Utah, he was bailing Jokic out a couple of times, like reading rotations that he was unaware of that should have been there previously. Again, Golden State is one of the hardest teams to play against. Like, yes, they obviously had some lapses, but it's not like anyone else is. You have to be an elite defender basically to like keep up with what they're doing, especially on the perimeter. And and drawing Wiggins, that Wiggins learned his role of how to exploit those like rotations and basically bad closeouts. Like, because there's a few things he can learn. Those closeouts we talked about, like, quickening his feet when he's closing out, not just like flying by guys, getting used to like boxing out because he's so athletic. He doesn't need to box out. He just sky for the ball, but just learning those like little details. That basically what we talked about in the offseason, like watching Jeff a little bit from last year, like some of the stuff what he does. But he's active. He's in a part of the system. Like, there's handoffs with Jokic that feel natural. It's not just like, let's push for MPJ to get some shots he hasn't shot in a while. It was just no. That's what it is. He had some drives that was just like dead straight. Like, he didn't try to dribble as much. Like, it was just, okay, we're gonna go to the basket. He got some in-ones. A couple of times in the transition, he like kind of like faked out the defender. He's gonna shoot in his like Mike shot, but then like drove and then kicked the ball out, like saw where the guys were. He wasn't just lost in the lost in the paint when he started dribbling. Like, again, there's a lot of like still deficiencies like everyone else, but he's coming off again a third back surgery, and he's playing like this, and he can average 20 points a game without a sweat, because again, Jokic is so good that he frees him up. But even with the bench, like, he had those like coming off of screens and stuff. Like, finally he's making those that we were like clamoring for him to start doing, like just basically the Clay type stuff. It's awesome. I was really enjoying watching him on the replays, but again, not even just shooting, just like watching him do like everything else, like being in the muck of things and making things like interesting again for OKC and their defensive rebounds. And then all of a sudden there's a scrum, and okay, MPJ's coming out with our ball. And so I was really, that's one of my biggest positivities from this week. Like, he kind of kept going. Like last year, he started that Phoenix game and then obviously like his back was like worse and worse. But that's what I was seeing from him last year, and I'm glad to see it back again. So it's pretty cool.
Crazy to think that like 3 weeks ago we called him the least Serbian player of all time.
It
And
doesn't. Well, it
still,
still is. Like it doesn't. Again, we
yeah,
weren't. It wasn't an insult. Like I just right now he's doing everything that he can do, and again
yeah.
he's still not like that. We give me a Serbian player that like can do what Michael Porter does. Like not even Stojakovic, one of our best shooter ever, for Serbia. Like even he wasn't like MPJ in
To
that
try
type of like
to try
shot
to explain
making.
how efficient he is, it's like when Jokic pulls up for one of his floaters, from 5 feet,
Yeah,
and every time it goes out, you're just amazed that it went out.
exactly.
Same with his threes.
It's a 3-pointer, and it's like, okay, we're
It's a three
shooting.
point.
He gets the ball. It's guys contesting, hard contest is almost like a foul, and you're surprised that the ball didn't make it in, and then you're not
Yeah.
even shocked. Like he makes the shot. It's like, okay, yeah,
No,
he
you
switched.
think like something happened here. I have to run the film to see what actually happened here. So the ball actually didn't make the hoop.
Sorry, I see the comment. You can pull up the comment from a little. It's like Brane's laughing at like I didn't say MPJ is better than Page. I'm saying the shot that he makes and over guys, they'll look so easy Serbia never had a shooter like that, because give me a shooter that's 210 centimeters tall and can shoot like this. Like it's
My-
not. I don't understand like why are we always like insulted when everything is compared? Like it's not. Again, he's not better than Peja right now because Peja had a longer career and like is one of the top 3-pointers ever and everything like that. I'm just saying this type of shot making we've never had, and why are we defensive about it? I don't understand. So
no reason for that. The Michael Porter needs to eat a lot of bread and a lot of years of his
yeah,
career for him to reach the heights of Peja
but
Stojakovic,
it's not
who
one or
was
the
at some
other. Like
point.
yeah,
He was at some point the MVP, the fourth in MVP race, but that doesn't mean that he is probably the best shot maker we've ever seen. I mean, the sample is still small enough so we can say this and that, but in reality, if you distill what you can see from his shot making, nobody did that in Serbian history, absolutely for sure. And
I mean even like that's why he's so high for like Americans too. Like they're fawning over him based on the same thing. They're like, okay, this is Kevin Durant, and then there's a bunch of empty spots because he's the only one. But like, who can be the closest to Kevin Durant for what he does? But basically, like how tough the shots are, and like, okay, now it's Brandon Ingram is showing some of this stuff, and Michael Porter would be next. Like just that based on the height and the ability to just not see defenders in front of him. So like, again, like just this is a digression, but like again, we just always have to fight about these opinions. Like it's not one or the other. I'm not saying categorically when I say someone is good at something, it's not categorically saying everyone else is bad. So like we can keep going.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's now move into the darkest part of this podcast, and that's meeting a mountain lion on the front porch, which is a segment where we speak about what scared us or made us the most pessimistic about. And of course, I don't want to turn this show into crying about a bad loss on the game number 1 this season. So I made a little game to make it more interesting. So my scary thing this week is, of course, that no show in Salt Lake City, and just an idea. I want to give you some ideas why this loss happened, and you will tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being my sleep deprived fan fiction and 10 being a complete lock, how sure are you about the reason that created this loss for the Nuggets? Okay, so reason number 1: Utah is a pretty good team hidden in plain sight.
That's a 4 to me. I think they're just basically unscouted. These are all the guys everyone knows, but no one knew how they are playing together and leading a team. So I'm not sure that they're really good. Like I think they're just probably like with a little bit of time, they'll probably come back down to earth. That's my opinion. So like, but it's still, they're not terrible players individually. Just like together, it's kind of a smorgasbord now that you're not sure kind of who to cover and who's. If you take out one guy, like what's the difference between Markkanen, focusing everything on Markkanen and focusing everything on Sexton, like, or and you have Kelly Olynyk shooting shots, and so it's like again, and then I think you have Hardy there, yeah. So like, that's one of the we can come back to it. So it's like a really, I don't think they're that great.
Yeah,
I think it's just
I will move the reason number 5 right now. So did Will Hardy break the game with 44 3-point attempts per game, or did they just get hot in a game against the Nuggets?
It's again on a two game sample
hot.
size. Like they're probably, for now you say they're hot, but again, the roster that they have is like there's not really. Who would you say is like, except Vando, a bad 3-point shooter that's in that rotation? So you have Conley, you have Markkanen, Kessler shot. He doesn't, but like he shot it in college, I believe. Yeah, in Auburn. Beasley. I said Michael. It's like Malik Beasley. Obviously Jordan Clarkson, Sexton, like was when he gets going, he can shoot threes too. So it's like they're not. It's not not surprising that they can hit a bunch of shots. Like, but we'll see. How the season goes, and if they decide. Like I was talking to one of our guys from Nugget Serbia yesterday on the show, and like I really, tanking sucks because of this reason. Like I wish we could find out before they just pull the plug, and we never know if it's just hot or they actually could be really fun. I really hope, I would hope that they would like try to win as many games as they can. It's just that they won't, so it sucks.
The NBA just needs.
Yeah, sorry, and this is Alexander said. Basically, no one knew what Utah would look like. That's basically my point. Just like a bunch of players together that no one.
Wait, we have that reason too. We have that reason too written down. Come on. Next reason: Vando and Beasley giving it to their former team.
Oh, I see. Of course. I mean, that's also like true. They wanted to kill everyone. That's what Vando said, like for Minnesota team, and I assume for Denver as well. Like they wanted to give it all. So I mean, they were more energetic in both games. Like they were crashing the boards, like like insane people, and running around and like playing hard. So harder than both Denver and Minnesota. So
Vando has been amazing. I mean, he grew so much from his Denver Nuggets days in everything except in foul making, because he still fouls like crazy. So I think the game could have gone even worse, if he stayed on the court and until the end. Okay.
Yep.
Reason number 3 or number 4, crazy night clubbing in Salt Lake City before the game. We have to ask Molly about this. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I would say that's a crazy fanfic. Oh, for Will Hardy one, I would say like that's a 5. Like we're still jury's out.
Oh yeah,
so it's in the middle.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a 1. Like, especially knowing like this team, like there's a lot of like not clubbing guys.
Yeah, it was worth a try. Okay, next one. Malone not having a game plan against the team with no film made on. No, that actually makes sense.
That's the one. I think like I would give this a 6, because I can't give it like higher, because again they're professionals. They should be prepared for anything. And but to be fair, like we saw against OKC the difference where Malone didn't even put DeAndre Jordan in because OKC doesn't have a traditional center, while against Golden State he was playing because Wiseman was on the bench. So that's the key that we should also like we gotta have to give credit to Malone for understanding that. And then in the second half against Utah as well, he was like shifting things. But again, Murray that's the first game, and so it kind of was, if he pulled the thing of like, okay, we're gonna bench Murray for the second half because he's not going just to beat Utah. I think the loss was better than benching Murray and like and winning that game. Like, so I think that's just a complete like a 6 again, because it's more on the very true, but also like they're professionals. I can't give him like that much pass on like not being prepared like they should be.
Also, they didn't lose that second half. The second half was equal points for both teams. They just got trounced in the
exactly.
First half.
It was 35-9. I mean, in the bench points at some point, I think first, like it's not good. Yeah.
And for the end, Jokic was uninterested of destroying rookie Walker Kessler.
It's always like a 10. It's always like a 10.
I love this name. Walker Kessler.
Walker
Come
Kessler,
on, man.
Yeah.
It sounds
two last names.
Yeah, it's like a villain from Blade Runner, something like that. I don't know, man. Sounds awesome.
It's the two last names. Yeah, it's the Sheriff Walker Kessler. Like him. I mean,
so that's a 10.
I mean, it's always a 10. Like Jokic, I don't know if he's ever like, I want to destroy this person. I really wish I could ask him that once. Like, did you ever come to a game like, I hate this dude, I want to kill him? Like, obviously in the basketball terms. So I don't know, maybe. But so yeah, that's a 10. But Walker Kessler, great name.
Okay, let me go back to the rundown. Okay, let's start now with the diehard questions of the week. This time we'll move to 4 questions by our awesome audience, some real diehards there. So let me pull the first one up, and then we will go for a little break again. Let me just find it bigger so I can read it. Okay, so first off, Denver Nuggets fans at Den Nuggets fans. Did you hear from any Serbian media outlet about the wrist finger injury? I feel like it's the Nuggets faking it to fool other teams. So before I get an answer from you, Voja, I just want to make something clear. No media outlet outside of Nuggets Serbia and us on Serbian corner are following the Nuggets as close as we are. I mean,
yeah, from Serbia.
No, nobody in Serbia. Yeah. So I don't think anybody can get something extra out of it. I mean, I don't think anybody is, poking Ogi Stojakovic throughout the season to ask him, hey, Ogi, can you tell us something about the injury? And of course, Ogi will never tell them anything.
Yeah.
So basically, that's a big no from me. Do you have something extra to?
No, that's a good point. Like, I wouldn't, even if there was something that shows up, like, I would really have to check this, like, understand what the sources are coming from, because I don't trust our media in these specific situations. Like, just that's the state of it right now there. And I don't think like they would, if they were reporting something back home, it would be whatever they can find from the guys, the beat reporters from Denver, and they see on Twitter and some of those news. Like, I don't think anyone else would have. There's no way there's going to be a breaking story about Jokic's injury coming from Serbia that would make it here and be credible and wouldn't be broken here first. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would. Absolutely. That's not. And now faking thing, I don't understand. Also, the part of that question, I'm not sure. Like
fooling the opposition.
Like, oh, he's not really that injured, or like he's injured, but they're not going to say how. Like, I don't know which part of the spectrum is it on. Yeah. Like, is he not hurt, and they're like wrapping him up to make it seem like he's hurt?
Yeah, something like that. I don't
think that's the case. Well, because again, with sports, like, we know about these like professional basketball players that like take every advantage they can. I wouldn't want to wrap my wrist to signal that it hurts, because the first thing they'll probably do is like was slap that wrist and try to see if it hurts, like how much it hurts. So
also the betting is a huge part of it right now. So I don't think they're allowed to fake things like this, because
that too.
With a lot of money, there's a lot of money involved.
Because honestly, like, as long as the wrist is going, basically you're under Jokic points, the bet is like pretty sensible. Because like, we've seen him not play, not shoot for yet, like in these 3 games, like shoot like 75 to 80% from the field. Like, he missed some of those like flick of the wrist layups that he made and stuff. I don't think it like bothers him that much. I'm just like, as far as the betting, that's what you're saying. Like, that's kind of what those data points is what they're taking for those over unders too. Like, is he wrist, which finger, like which knee, that kind of stuff.
Okay, we will move back to the diehard questions right after this break. And we're back with some other awesome questions from diehards. Joshua asks, at Space Nerd 1313, excellent handle. Will Ish get any real minutes with a healthy Murray and 2 surprisingly, though not too surprising, defensive games from Christian Brown? Seems like any path he had into the rotation dries up if he's getting minutes nightly. What do you think about this?
I think there is, and I think it's going to be same thing with DeAndre Jordan. Like what we saw again, like what I mentioned between Golden State and OKC games, just on the matchups. There might be. I'm not off the top of my head. I don't know if like which teams that could be like, hey, this is the one I can see Smith play because they have the second unit has two aggressive guards that they come out like and are could hunt. Okay, let's go Pelicans for example. If Jose Alvarado is playing against Bones and is pressing him the entire court, maybe in that situation you want him like off the ball again. But we have, we said all healthy, so like Bruce Brown is there to like help out with getting the ball across and setting up the offense. But maybe like those are kind of the teams I'm looking at. Maybe if you need like two or even three like ball handlers, you have Bruce, Ish, and Bones, just so like you can set up your offense more easily, like that kind of stuff. Like I could see it there based on matchups. Like again, not including injuries to players and resting and stuff like that. And like even and again, like I don't want to jinx it. Like it could be like, okay, Bones has like a really rough night, like just completely is got up on the wrong foot, like can't make a shot, like the decision is just not there. And so the second half he comes in and like stabilizes the second unit because the starters are playing so well, and every time they, the starters come out a little bit, the advantage drops. Then I can see maybe Ish Smith being like, hey, stabilize this like unit, we need to win this game, and that's it. So there's a couple of those scenarios, but it's tough now. They're really playing well. Like I wouldn't put him instead of Bones for sure. And then Brown is just showing the defensive prowess that just because of the size like that Ish doesn't have. So it's like for now, I'm saying these are the scenarios that I can see right now that for them for him to go up. What do you think?
I agree with that. I really think his safest way to get on the court is in the nights when Jamal just doesn't play. That's the easy path for him to get to the rotation minutes. And as you said, Bones might have some bad games. He's still a second-year player. He has a lot of things on his back, so it's really tough, and it's not something to be scared of. Sometimes Bones will just not be on the height of his powers. Yeah. So it's really good to have a savvy veteran, veteran to play next to him. Okay, or instead of him. Next question from the homie Michael Shields at Mike Shields 99. Given how the team has played so far, where is the team at relative to your expectations in becoming their best version of themselves?
What do you think? Well, I'll give you. So I wanted to shout this out, because of the start of the season. We talked about basically it was the fish to disagreement we had before the season, where you said Murray will probably be terrible at the beginning. I thought maybe like he'll come off swinging because of just a long off. And you were completely right there. He's really bad, and like that was more sensible thing to say, like rational thing to say. I was kind of like half of it was I was hoping that he might come out of like an NFL player comes out after some some injury sometime. I mean, I don't. It's maybe 60% what I was expecting, like just because I expected Jamal to be better, but I think like there's there's good things to to hang your hat on beginning of the season. Like I kind of expect him to be like much better, but it's also this is kind of on par, let's say. What's your take?
Yeah, I will take that winning lap about expecting Jamal to be a worse version of himself. On the other hand, I thought, even though I said I don't expect the defense to be top notch from the get go, I thought it would be better than it was in these first three games. I mean, they got a lot of easy baskets made on them in all of the three games. Actually, I mean, it's tough. I mean, against the OKC, when you have 5 out guys like just raining trees, the Mike Muscala, he made like how many? 5 threes?
Can we get him as our as our option as well from the center. Like
He is too good for that team, man. They
I
don't
know
need
they love
such a
him. They
good
love him.
veteran.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
It's super risky to play Mike Muscala if you're trying to lose games.
That's one of those like great
the
NBA
point.
careers where like I don't think anyone has an opinion about him. Like there's not going to be someone says something about Mike Muscala and someone comes down and says who's like a veteran now, like Drummond better, like or like Zeke Naji better, and just try to troll him like like it happens with like whoever posts something about Jokic, someone's got to show up down there and says like he's overrated or worse. Like so, you spend your entire life playing basketball in the NBA, earn a good salary, and you can come out and be basically into like what Jokic wants, like obscure retirement. Is like, oh yeah, remember Mike Muscala? Like whatever happened to him? He's like, oh, he's enjoying his millions and like without any backlash because he's such a chill veteran. Like it's really one of those like funny like side careers that's like pretty much a lot of normal people would want to have.
Yeah. So to go back to Michael's question, I think I'm actually lower than you on how far I think they are to their best version, because the biggest obstacle of absolutely is Jamal Murray, and right now he's playing like a sixth man. Let's say that's his level of play, and we want him to be a second guy or maybe even a 1B guy on this team, and it's a big gap over there. It's harder for him to get there than people think, because he really needs to get to turning the corners more easily on almost every play, and it's going to be tough. We believe in Jamal because he's a insane person when we speak about his work ethics. So I'm sure he'll get there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so you said, I agree with the point there that you get there because we've seen some moments like it's not completely missing. And so that's what I think it's that's why I think it's like can see it positively. If he couldn't get past anyone for all in all 2 games that he played all the minutes, you're like, well, that's a little bit troublesome, especially since it's OKC and Utah. If you couldn't get by anyone, like you start worrying. But because he can in certain moments, he was like really impressive. Like, okay, now it's just a matter of time to like get that more constantly. Then it's not just like every 10th play, like it's every it's gonna be every 3rd, every 4th, and like 7th, and then okay, now he's getting past people 9 out of 10 times. Like it's gonna be fun.
I have to say, I didn't expect KCP to drain 6 threes in game number 3. That was a really nice surprise,
especially
really
after the preseason. Yeah, after preseason, especially like that was.
I was so afraid he'll just forget to shoot when he comes to the Nuggets, like many players did in the past. I mean, I know that's not actually true. That's just diehard, feelings about the game. It's not really accurate.
No.
But yeah, I'm really happy about
I think he's excited. He didn't. I'm honestly, I can probably almost vouch that he didn't know what to expect coming here. That he thought being like a 5th option playing defense in or 4th option in a starting lineup meant like that he's never going to score. And like I'm pretty sure like that like last game was like, oh wait a minute, they're gonna basically like run stuff and ball's gonna find me even though I'm not like the first option. And he comes out yesterday, he's like 13 points in 9 minutes, like or 8 minutes. And like, okay, cool, like I can keep going with this. Like so and what we always say, like play good offense, like usually gets translated into the desire to play good defense as well. Like if they're just running and playing defense and they don't get 1 shot per game, like then they get like, why am I doing this? But now it's like, okay, I'm scoring like 6 threes, but I'm also going to defend SGA and try to like limit him as much as possible. So it's like really good trade-off there. Like I really like it. You're right.
I agree. Okay, last question for today. West Bank Pete, or at Buckets since 88. Go check out his podcast, 4 Corners. It's a really good Nuggets podcast. So what is your level of concern about the Nuggets defense? And I have to say, right after the Utah game, it was really low. It felt really bad. But right now, when we see Christian Brown playing real minutes, actual rotation minutes, it's actually much higher than I thought it would be in this part of season. Of course, they might suffer some blowout losses next week, so I will eat my words. But when you see all of those guys, Bruce and KCP and Christian and Aaron, I mean, it feels pretty good. I know it will take some time for all the rotations to get on their places, but the elements are definitely there. So I would say we spoke about last week about them being top 5 defense. I would say I'm like 55% sure that will happen, which is pretty high.
Yeah, I agree. I watched when watching the Utah thing, and it was a lot of the stuff that popped out in my head first was off the screen first was for me was communication and trust. I think we kind of previewed this last weekend when we said it's going to take some time. There's basically 3 new players in that starting lineup because KCP, the 2 guys off the injuries, and then you have Bruce and Bones in a different role, and then Christian Brown or Devon Reed, whoever was playing. So basically new people for this defense, and you don't know yet like what you can trust a defender to do, like the guy next to you to do. It's like the failings in in the 300 movie when it's described like the shield next to you defends the guy next to you kind of thing, and if you don't trust him, it's gonna fall. And I could see against Utah, for example, like you have Gordon maybe like we're helping sometimes because he doesn't know like if KCP is going to get stuck on a screen maybe in the similar way that Barton might or Monte might, or if he's going to have the speed to catch up. So there's a lot of these like when 3 men were involved from Utah, like a lot of like just late onto to catch up on the open guy because it just didn't seem like they were communicating well and slash trusting like what a person next to you can do. And then obviously again like this was encouraging because he like improved a little bit. The one thing that I'm really excited about is just looking at these 3 guard defenders, Brown, and KCP, just how much they can stay in front of their guys. Like just if you go one-on-one, they can stay in front of their people. Again, yesterday it's kind of was like a interesting 3 games for them defensively because they have dynamic guards like on all 3 teams, and it's a little bit different styles of them, right? The Golden State has this one style, running around, the shots, and then from over helping on the shots, then they're gonna go by you. OKC has these basically down the hill, attacking the rim first, then the shot comes next. And you have Giddey as a tall guy, like trying to go through guys. I'm still convinced SGA somehow is ice skating out there when he attacks people. Like he's gliding in that. Like there's no way. It doesn't look fast, and somehow he's like going past these guys that are really good defenders, just like they're non-existent. It's so incredible to watch. So I'm that's why I'm really like optimistic about the defense because again the communication can come because they're all smart players, and more I think it's just gonna keep going. Again, Golden State game proved that like they were defending in right moments, and then just like kind of collapse some of the points at the last minute. Like otherwise it was like a really decent like defensive rating for that game up until like a minute and a half left.
Excellent. Okay. Yep. To close out this episode, we'll go to the Nuggets stat of the week. I wanted to do a little trivia game as well, but we won't have time for this this week. So Nuggets stat of the week, after 3 regular season games played, I'm going to give you a bunch of small sample stats. So first of all, true shooting. If you think Jokic's true shooting of 72% or Porter's true shooting of 69% are impressive, and trust me, they are. How about Uncle Jeff's 81% true shooting? 81%.
Let's go.
And that's not a small number of shots. But there's one guy who had even Uncle Jeff's, he was better than him. And that's DeAndre Jordan, who has 92% true shooting. He hasn't missed a single shot in this season in 30 minutes he spent
just a free throw, right?
on the court. So I'm sorry for everything I said about DeAndre Jordan before the season. I'm kidding, but let's hope for this run to last as long as it is possible.
Yep. Next thing I want was it the reverse Jacques watch, like the
reverse Jacques watch.
Let's see how much he can't miss.
Yeah, shout out Kit Parrish of the Fast Break Breakfast. Okay, next thing, usage. Nikola Jokic is just the 3rd among rotation guys with 23.3% usage. So just to so the average would be 20%. Like if all 5 guys touch the ball equally, 20% is equal. So your 2-time MVP is at 23.3. And first is on the Nuggets is of course Bones Highland with 28.8 because he's running the second unit.
Let's go.
And then we have Jamal Murray with 26.1%, which is pretty sweet.
Also good. Let's like fast forward to the point where he's really good by giving him the ball, so much. Like I like it.
I agree. So what this tells me is that Nikola is doing his best to create an egalitarian offense and just let everybody play, just like everybody feed, just like everybody take their chance at the rock, and it's working. I cannot say it's working fine because they're still like -10 in plus minus after 3 games, but hopefully it will continue on the upswing for the next. Just one note about the usage. Number 1 in usage. 2 guys are number 1 in usage in the league right now. Darius Garland and Luka Doncic, both north of 38%.
Yeah, so, and Garland is probably like a completely skewed one because he got hurt in the second game, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. So that's only one
basically
game.
Like 20-some minutes, games. Probably like 30-some minutes. Yeah. But Luka, I knew Luka was gonna. Yeah, that's the new Harden.
They just traded away all the good players so Luka can be Luka.
Yeah, did you see that though? Did you see the crazy point? Like in 30 minutes, he and Wood played a 147 offensive rating together. Like Wood scored 50 points in 49 minutes. Like that's insane. Yeah, that's another proof that like Luka is Harden, because like Harden type of player. Because Wood also like shined when he was playing with Harden, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Based on usage, not a play. Like, I think he's more of like he has better character than Harden.
Yeah, you know my old take that Luka is just a good-looking James Harden. So I think that helps him too as well.
Fair.
Okay, one last stat for this stat of the week, and it's my favorite. Aaron Gordon is averaging 3.3 offensive rebounds per game. Like he is glass eating. I'm loving his activity on the offensive boards. He has saved the Nuggets so many times, and most of those offensive rebounds were just not putbacks, but dunks.
Cleanup. Yeah.
Put it down and then just ram it. Into the basket.
That's one of the fun parts of these few games. Just like he fights for the rebound. He wants to tip it in, and eventually just catches it. And there's like 3 or 4 like other players around, and you just see Gordon just up, in front of him, just all like just swallow the rim. Like it's so ferocious. It's awesome.
Yes. So kudos to our favorite Nugget, Aaron Gordon. I had some hot takes like a day ago. Like I'm expecting Aaron Gordon to be Nuggets' second best player by the end of the season, but I don't know, man. Michael Porter is running hot. Running hot. Before we let you enjoy this Sunday, please consider subscribing and giving a thumbs up on the YouTube video, or give a 5-star review to the DNVR Nuggets podcast on iTunes. It will help the channel grow even further. It is only 4 days until the 90 minutes long DNVR Nuggets feature called 100 Invisible Threads, and it will premiere on Evoca TV in Colorado. I've seen some of the footage, and it's going to be a banger. Prepare tissues if you're going to need them for various reasons. Oh, God. That was the worst joke I've ever made.
Yeah, no, that's a Kevin Smith joke. He makes a Good Morning America. He said you'll bring tissues. You need them for both situations.
Oh, God. Okay. So I didn't know that, Jack. But you see, great minds think alike. So that's what you're going to do. So hopefully we will be able to recover for that joke and see you again next week.
Yeah.
Idemo na Nuggets.
Idemo na Nuggets.
Where is it? Here it is.
Click on the outro. Let's go.